Welcome to the Filmistines, the podcast where we discuss all things movies. Join us as we dive deep into the latest releases, revisit classic films, and explore the art of cinema. Whether you're a film fanatic or just love a good flick, we've got you covered. From Hollywood blockbusters to indie gems, we'll be breaking down the storytelling, cinematography, and everything in between. So grab some popcorn, sit back, and get ready for some cinematic magic. If you like what you hear, please consider subscribing to our Patreon at patreon.com/filmistines. We offer tiers at the $1, $5, and $20 level, where the $20 tier grants the ability to request films for future episodes. This is the Filmistines, where movies are more than just entertainment, they're an experience. All around you.
And welcome back to another episode of the Filmistines. I'm your host, Lucy, here with my friend, my co-host, the Ergol.
This is me, I'm the Ergol.
Say
I'm the
hello,
Ergol.
Ergol.
Hello, Ergol. I'm Ergol. Good job.
And today we're talking about one of my favorite childhood through young adult books made into the shittiest movie.
Is it the Pooh Bear movie?
Pooh Bear? How did you know? No. We're talking about Eragon today. Have people even heard of this movie?
That's a good question. I have. I don't know why. I have. I see your cover is missing.
Yes.
From your book.
This book actually is my first book.
The original copy of it. That's cool. Is it one of the original copies? Like the first? No. Okay. So the first edition was published by him. He was self-published, Christopher Paolini, the author. And then the second edition was published by the publishing company that starts with K. Knopf. I don't know. Knopf. And then the third edition, which was only hardback, by the way, their first publication. So then this is the third one where they made it into paperback. So none of the first ones here, but pretty early on. And so early on that on the back, I have this little flyer to win a trip to see the movie. Wow.
And you get free movie tickets if you submit this. They have 3 questions on the back, which I've read this book so many times and I can still not answer the questions.
That's
without having to like really think about it.
That's crazy. They're deep questions.
They were hard questions, yeah. And you could enter in, your name, answer the questions, and win tickets.
Was it a sweepstakes type thing, or if you got them right, was it guaranteed tickets?
No, it was win a chance to.
Dang,
win.
You gotta answer hard questions to even get the chance. That's crazy. That's awesome.
It was awesome. I read the book. I think I was in 4th or 5th grade. I'm not exactly sure. And then the movie came out when we were in 5th grade.
They don't even teach kids how to read until like 11th grade. No.
Especially books with, what is this, like 400 pages? It's so beat up, I can't see the page. 496. The movie came out in 2006. A
little ahead of its time?
Yes, a little bit.
As far as these kinds of movies go.
But wait, the movie came out December 15, 2006. So it was just 2 days after my birthday.
Wow.
So that was my birthday party. Me and a group of friends who had also read the book, and some of them who didn't read the book, but I couldn't shut up about the book, so they knew the whole book anyway. And we went to go to the movie theater to go see it. So that was pretty cool. That's, embedded. That's a core memory of mine. So as a 5th grader, one of my first experiences of disappointment.
You were disappointed in 5th grade?
I liked the movie, especially, for its time. And it's always nice to have a visual representation of what you read. Like the Harry Potter series did that for me. There were a lot of books I read before the film. So, Twilight, Hunger Games. Actually, I'm not sure if I read Hunger Games before or after or during when they were popular. But it's always nice to see that adaptation, especially on the big screen, especially for fantasy. So it was nice, but it just didn't follow the book at all. It was not even close to the book. So that was kind of a disappointment. So Christopher Paolini, the author, wrote Eragon when he was 15 years old.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know what I was doing at 15, but
not writing a book.
Not publishing books. And then a few years later, when he was 17, that's when the book finally got published. And then a few years after that, it was made into a movie. So, I mean, this kid's not even in his 20s, and he already made this book. And I think by then he had already made Eldest too, which is the sequel.
That's wild.
Out of a 4-part.
When did Hunger Games come out, the books?
I'm not sure.
The movies didn't come out until, 2010, 11?
Yeah.
And onward? Those 4 movies?
Yeah, I'm not sure when the Hunger Games came out.
That's crazy that they immediately jumped on putting this movie together only a couple years after the book was published.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, I don't know if they read the book. Maybe they didn't have enough time. They were just like, okay, dragon on the cover. Cool, let's run with that. It's blue? All right, got it. But he had a lot of inspiration from epic poems like Beowulf and the Lord of the Rings series. Who's that? Tolkien?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people gave him some crap for basically plagiarizing the Lord of the Rings and plagiarizing fantasy.
What?
And yeah.
How do you plagiarize fantasy?
Exactly.
You can't. That's like saying you're plagiarizing Newton when you use any kind of classical mechanics. It's like it's kind of the.
Oh, you mean he's following the tropes of fantasy?
Yeah.
What?
It's like kind of the formula on one level, and then you kind of build your own onto it.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's one of the first books, movie, fantasy, whatever, that features a dragon as a main character.
That's cool.
Because we get to hear a lot of Saphira's thoughts and feelings, and she's in every chapter. She's in every scene, pretty much.
They should have named her Sephora.
Why Sephora?
Like the store.
Like the store.
We're just one vowel away.
Oh my gosh. And then the movie came out in 2006. It was directed by Stephen Fangmeyer.
I've never heard of him. What has he done?
Okay, so this is actually his debut movie.
Feature-length film?
Yeah. Before that, he did visual effects. And then after Eragon, he did visual effects. So I think it's his only film, if I did my research correctly, that he directed. Everything else he's been a part of.
That's cool that he tried it. He must have not. If I had to guess, this movie probably did pretty well. I haven't looked into it.
It made $250.4 billion.
Billion?
Wait.
Must be million.
Million. Hold up. Fucking autocorrect.
I guess I was correct. That would be the highest grossing movie of all time.
All time.
Actually, that'd be higher grossing than every movie to come out probably in the last 10 years.
Combined? I'm so sorry. So. Yeah, $250 million.
Yeah,
which is not bad.
No, that sounds really good for this movie.
Yeah.
What was the budget?
100.
Yeah, so that sounds like it was right in the pocket of making money.
Okay. Yeah. A lot of negative reviews on the movie.
I can't imagine why.
Is that sarcasm? I can't tell.
Well, people just like the bitch because people like the bitch.
That's true.
Yeah, there's like a real old thing about this. I'm actually surprised to hear that director hasn't made other movies. I'm surprised he's not an old guy making, trying to make a comeback with a new fantasy movie, because this movie just screams Willow. Screams the Lord of the Rings series from the 80s.
Oh, wow.
Screams Never-Ending Story,
Mm-hmm.
This is right in that wheelhouse. Yeah. And I'm a little, if it would have come out 30 years before or 20 years before, this movie would have been a hit.
Yeah, apparently he worked
Minus John Malkovich. We need to replace him. He's a little silly in this.
Especially in 5th grade, I didn't know actors, and I didn't really notice anything.
You weren't like, why does he sound like that?
I just thought he was kind of force acting in a way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's funny.
Bad guys are dramatic.
Yeah, that's true. They're melodramatic usually.
But the director helped on the visual effects of the last. No, how many seasons are in Game of Thrones?
Oh, 8 or 9.
8th season. He helped on the 8th season.
Wow,
I
mean, there were some pretty good effects in this for 2006.
Before that, he helped with the visual effects on Saving Private Ryan, Terminator 2, and The Perfect Storm.
Wow.
So,
I mean, especially Saving Private Ryan and Terminator 2. Wow, that's big accolades, man. That's what's up.
I mean, I thought Saphira looked good.
Saphira still looks pretty decent.
And I think she still looks pretty good.
Yeah, at times she looks better than other times, but yeah, the only thing that really stuck out in a really terrible way were those things that were those little assassin guys that were following them.
The Razak.
They looked pretty bad just because they had some weird CG going on in their face.
Yeah, okay.
Looked real bad. But the movie looks old. It feels like it's from the 80s. It looks kind of grainy and stuff. Probably because it's not filmed in HD. It's probably filmed in 480 or whatever. And so it looks kind of grainy, and it pays off. I think it holds up from that.
Yeah,
angle.
It's one of the last movies that came out on VHS, DVD, and Blu-ray.
Yeah, I saw that.
One of the last. I'm like, wow, I didn't know it was that old. Which is actually one of the first movies I purchased.
Yeah, you know what else was of the last few months? Saw 2.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
And then the very last movie that come out was a movie called The History of Violence by David Cronenberg.
Yeah, I never heard of that.
Yeah, I've never seen it, but that was the last movie to come out on VHS.
Dang.
In a like mass release kind of way, because I'm sure there is occasionally. I'm sure because in the video game world there are these companies who make like old school cartridges for the Game Boy or the NES or Sega system, and they release like new games that are made in an old 8-bit, 16-bit way, right? Mm-hmm. Some of these indie games that can fit on the cartridges, they release them on the cartridges in limited supply. They make 1,000 of them, and then that's it. But they, I'm sure that same thing happens in the DVD VHS world too. Yeah. I'm not sure though.
Yeah, I wouldn't know, but that'd be cool if it is.
Yeah,
it's funny they didn't go with a banger. Like go out with a bang. Maybe they did, and I'm not giving that movie enough credit here, but...
Well, David Cronenberg, it's kind of cool. He's kind of an important person in the landscape of movies. He's real big. He's real important to the practical effects and body horror side of filmmaking. Mm. That probably could have happened if they planned it in some way, but by 2006, I imagine VHS was just hanging on for for its life. It had been dead for it had been a vegetable already for probably 7 years at that point, or at least since the PS2 came out.
Oh my gosh.
What, 1999 in Japan, I think.
Sure. Yeah, I have no idea.
So what do you want to tell me about in this movie? I'll have to say off the top that this movie was infinitely better than Ender's Game.
Yes.
And I was a little bit surprised because I've heard of Eragon. Don't know why, don't know where, because I'm not a fantasy reader of any kind. And
like before you met me, you'd heard of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'd never seen the movie. Mm-hmm. I knew there was a movie, but I knew the book was pretty big. Not Harry Potter big, but maybe at the time Game of Thrones big. Maybe not. Maybe Game of Thrones was even smaller at the time. But it was, this thing. I knew Eragon before Hunger Games. I'm like, Hunger Games was a book series? I knew Eragon before Twilight.
Yeah.
I think. Okay. Pretty sure. I'm not sure when Twilight the first came out, but I'm pretty sure I knew about Eragon before that even. Not sure why, but this movie never popped up in my life for me to watch. Because if it was on TV, I would have watched it.
Yeah.
I would have watched it. Because I'm like, oh, what is this? How bad can this be?
Yeah, it was a very popular book for a lot of kids our age, coming out in 2002, I think it came out. So that's that's right on our age group for young readers. So I'm not surprised you haven't heard of it, but I am surprised that you never saw the movie, especially if it came to theater. You know, that's got to be something if your movie's coming to theater.
No, that's all. Yeah, that's a big deal.
So
especially, I mean, yeah, it's a huge deal. That's awesome. A lot of great, indie movies, RRR, didn't come to American theaters,
Mm-hmm.
So, not that RRR is indie by any stretch of the imagination, but,
it is in my
like
imagination.
Sisu, or whatever you say that film we're going to watch, I think it's about basically the Polish, I think it's Polish, I think it's revolves around this prospector who is trying to be taken advantage of by Nazis, and they then realize that he's basically John Wick, and so he's gonna murder everybody. He kills Hitler, I hear, and I don't know about that.
Shit.
I don't know about that.
Okay.
But that didn't go to theaters, or very many at least. I hear that didn't go out here in the Memphis greater area. So, and then Eragon probably. I mean, I would assume it got a total U.S. release and pretty much at all your major theaters.
Yeah, I think it did. Yeah,
that's sick. That's awesome. I hope he benefited from that. What's his name?
The author?
Yeah,
Christopher Paolini.
Yeah, he must be Italian.
I don't know about that.
Christopher Paolini,
but
his dad probably owns a pizza shop called Paolini's. In New York. Or Chicago. Either one.
It does.
Not Chicago. I meant, what's the one in Ohio? The place, Cleveland.
Oh.
They got a big Italian population there. What were you gonna say? Sorry.
They have a big Italian population in Cleveland. What?
Huge American Italians, like of that,
still,
kind of that vein of the New York Italian. Yeah, huge.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, how we have like your chain restaurants out here. You have your Wendy's and Burger Kings, and like every other store, fast food store or a restaurant store is one of those. A McDonald's, a Taco Bell, a KFC. Every other restaurant store in Cleveland is an Italian store.
Is a Paolini's
Is
pizzeria.
it a Paolini's? And it could either be a pizza place or a pasta place or a like Italian bakery where they got your what are those called? Those little
croissants.
Croissants. No, those little things they film. They're little bakery goods that you fill up with like chocolate or
eclairs.
Kinda. It's like an Italian eclair, I guess. The
scones?
No, not the scones. What is it?
Cannolis.
The cannoli.
Cannoli.
You get your cannolis and your Italian ice cream, and so every other place in Cleveland is Italian, an Italian restaurant of some sort.
That's cool. I would never guess that. But back to the movie. It got a score of 1.7 on Letterboxd. I don't know if you managed to pull it up on there.
Yeah, I did. And I was like, that's way too low. This movie should be a 2.5 average or something like that. Maybe 2.7, between 2.5 and 2.8 max, 2.8 max.
And
that's way too low.
Yeah, I was really interested in your perspective because I've read the books, reread the books. I've watched that movie so many times. So I'm a little, what do you call that when you've done something so many times you don't know how to feel about it sometimes?
You're kind of nose blind to it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm kind of nose blind to it.
You've got this weird element of bias-y where it's just so ingrained it's hard to criticize, right? Mm-hmm. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, I get that.
So I'm excited for your perspective on. So for you to say that, it's not a 1.7, it should be 1.7. At least a little bit higher, at least 1 point higher from what you're saying.
I mean, the worst part of this movie is John Malkovich.
Why so much hate against John
I love John Malkovich. He's just totally unnecessary in this movie. It makes no sense. He's like a Nick Cage, sort of. It's like he is a very specific mold. John Malkovich doesn't play other characters. He plays John Malkovich. He's not as crazy as Nick Cage or anything, but you can't cast this mega Brooklyn dude that's ready to fucking just yell at people and like you just as a evil king, you know?
Yeah.
That just doesn't work. He doesn't have the right charisma. He's not charming in that way. He's kind of scary, which I guess helps, but he's not the right kind of scary. He's more of your, I'm afraid of that neighbor scary, you know, not I'm afraid of the king scary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's the guy that you don't want to meet in the hallway when you're going to your apartment.
Oh my gosh, that's
you know
hilarious.
I mean? Because he's gonna say something. He's gonna fucking say something. You know, he's not actually a bad guy or anything. Maybe, but he's like, you parked too close to me yesterday. What was up with that? Like, you know, he's like, your mat was all fucked up yesterday. Yeah, I fixed it.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. You know, I can just see him being like that.
That's funny.
And he also always kills people in his movies, I guess, too. In some way, I feel like. He's pretty brutal, which is cool because, you know, it fits his attitude.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought he was a little silly as a pick in this. But yeah, the score is incredibly too low. I can't remember what Ender's Game was, but it's probably pretty close. But I did notice that the bar graph is a little telling.
2.7 for Ender's Game.
See, that doesn't make any sense. This movie's much better than Ender's Game. Ender's Game is grade A garbage. It's a good case study of how not to make a movie. If I was running a class, which I'd love to run a college class on bad movies, I think that'd be super cool. Like a whole, like, it's, you know, how like when you're in high school you take English every year.
Mm-hmm.
That's something you do in film school. That would be cool if it was something you did in film school. Every single year you took a class on, you know, bad movies 1, bad movies 2, bad movies 3, bad movies 4. That'd be sick. And this would be a movie I definitely include in that. Ender's Game would be. This wouldn't be anywhere near any of my classes anywhere. It's just a vanilla, mostly safe movie, not going anywhere, you know. It's got some questionable things here and there, but like any other generic movie. So that's completely unwarranted. And you'll probably notice, I think on Ender's Game, it's definitely completely slanted one way. Maybe around the 2.5 area or the 2.
Yeah, there was like a bulge.
It's probably
there.
real smooth. And then if you look at Eragon, I don't know I didn't look at how many people reviewed it, the number, because that can be kind of telling. But something tells me, of course, there's probably no 4s, 4.5s, and 5s on Eragon.
Yeah, I don't know how to see that.
Yeah, so virtually there are what you'd expect, no 4, 4.5s, 5s for Eragon. And probably true for Ender's Game too. But if you look at it, you'll see that the bar graph is not smooth.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's over 100,000 reviews. So this is a really good study of, or survey of how people feel. And, you know, your in quotes, your biases are going to get in the way of it wasn't what I imagined. And there, you know, it's just the direction of the movie is, you know, it's not quite, I assume we're going to get into it. It's not, it's really not that much of an adaptation. They take a lot of liberties.
A lot.
With where they go.
Yes.
Which you can, of course, that's a mark against it. Of course, it's an Eragon movie, but it's also hard to combine those two graphs. And so that's what you're seeing here is you're seeing that noise kind of pop out here. And so what you'll probably notice is if you ignore that, you know what I mean by those two bar graphs combining. We've got the people who are obsessed with the book and they wanted a proper adaptation of the book, whatever that means. Maybe in the vein of Hunger Games or Harry Potter. I don't know. Right? I don't know if Hunger Games is that similar. But then we've got the people who just watched the movie and aren't really familiar with the source material. And that's probably where you see this 2.5 kind of floating.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would imagine. And so I'm going to give you your phone back so you can see it. But you can kind of literally see the two graphs combined right there because there's just those two demographics. It's not that divisive. And so I think that's often what happened. And it's why, you know, it's kind of interesting to look at bar graphs like that, which I really like about Letterboxd, is the visual representation they kind of show you there. It's because you can kind of see the smoothness of both the two graphs, but when they combine them, it disrupts them a little bit. And you can easily tell which group of people are which, because of course the people who are most passionate about Eragon are going to give it the lowest score, right?
Right.
So, and Ender's Game is so bad across the board
for everybody
that it just confuses me why it's so high. I remember reading that people like some of the effects or something in it. I don't know, but that movie, you know, I say this about the bar graph and the amount of people reviewing it and stuff, but it still doesn't negate the weirdness that happens when it comes to reviewing movies or video games or books or whatever, because it's things get weirdly skewed and distorted in weird ways. Just anyways, so but I can kind of see the divisiveness there. It's not a smooth graph.
Yeah.
So that's my first thing I'm always going to look at when it comes to like a bar graph is how smooth it is. And when it's not smooth, I'm like, something's going, it piques my interest quite a bit,
right.
actually. Because if there's a movie called Southland Tales, I think. And if you look that up on Letterboxd, you don't need to. But every single bar is like level.
Oh.
It's the most divisive movie I've ever seen on Letterboxd. And it's just...
That's crazy.
It begs you to watch the movie.
Yeah.
And people think it's prophecy, and some people think it's a very David Lynch movie. Some people think it's trash, of course. Some people think it's the worst thing ever made. And some people think it's funny, so it does fit these criteria in some people's minds, and it's definitely a weird movie. But yeah, I'm gonna definitely die on the hill of Eragon being a much better movie than Ender's Game, which is I forgot Ender's Game was that high. I'm sure I said something about that being too high when we made that episode, but wow.
Yeah, I'm sure I said something about Eragon and Ender's Game both being awful movies, but rewatching it, definitely Ender's Game was worse.
I'm glad you see that.
Yes.
Because it's so obvious to me. And,
yes.
Of course, whatever, it's a subjective thing. But, like, just the acting alone, man, is on another level here.
And even though Ender's Game followed the book more, it followed the source material more than Eragon did, Eragon still made the better movie.
Yeah, which is funny. Because it's also funny to see the caliber of actors that can get involved in it, because last time we got with Ender's Game, we got Viola Davis and Han Solo, whatever his name is.
Yeah,
big names, right?
Right.
I don't know if Viola Davis was that big then, but I can't remember. She probably was. She's a full-grown woman.
Sure.
She's been around. But here we get John Malkovich, and then I think Brahm was in quite a bit too.
Yeah, Jeremy Irons.
He sounds like he was in a lot of stuff.
He does sound like he was in a lot of stuff. I'm not sure what
he
was
in Game of Thrones?
Oh, it looks like he's a Broadway dude.
Gee, that's even a little more interesting that he got involved in this.
He voiced Scar in The Lion King, the 1994.
He's
Scar.
Wow. See, you get a crazy...
Lolita?
He's in Lolita?
Yeah.
He's in Stanley Kubrick's Lolita?
1997? Is that one?
That's not Stanley Kubrick.
Okay. Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. Although that was after Eragon. Yeah, I don't recognize any of these movies before.
Lots of stuff, though, probably sounds like, especially with Scar. Yeah, it's kind of interesting, the group of people we can get in these projects, even at the time, because now, yeah, of course, especially after we're in like kind of the post Marvel era, I would say. I think Marvel's probably on the out.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to guess, I'd wager in the next 10 years we won't see our Marvel movie made again for a while, or at least not in the Disney sense.
Yeah.
I think maybe probably here in 5 years we'll see the end of the at the rate they're coming out, and maybe DC's gonna take up that mantle. I don't know. I don't think so. I think superheroes are done, but it's kind of interesting that they would get involved in something like that pre the nerd thing happening now.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
So what are some of the differences, man?
Well, before we get into that, I do have some news, which is why I asked you not to look into this.
Oh.
And hopefully you haven't come across it. You ready for this?
Yeah.
An Eragon series is coming
to
Disney Plus.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just announced less than a year ago.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So it's very, very early, the earliest stages. But although nothing has been confirmed, Christopher Paolini is going to be a co-writer.
Yeah, well, that's
for
good.
The series.
I think he was a co-writer in the movie too.
I didn't see anything on it.
He was credited on Letterboxd.
Okay,
but I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either.
Yeah, I don't know if that just was an etiquette situation or not, but it's sometimes hard to know.
I saw him go live to announce. Well, I didn't see him go live because I just looked it up. I saw when he went live that he was excited talking about it, and he was like, now we're getting the Eragon adaptation we all deserve.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's good. And he's going to be involved.
And he's going to be involved, although I don't know how Disney works. Nothing's been officially confirmed.
Yeah, Disney, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. So, maybe in 2025 we'll have an Eragon series, and I'm kind of excited, but I can't get my hopes up.
Yeah, 2025? That's what they said?
They said late 2024, maybe early 2025.
I mean, that's a good sign, that time. And they announced it a year ago?
Yeah, about a year ago.
That's a good sign.
Less than a year ago.
That's a good sign.
But
yeah, I hope J.K. Rowling is involved in the Harry Potter HBO show.
I mean, I hope she is too. But at the same time, you have so many Harry Potter nerds, so many people that have read and reread the books and have come up with their own theories and their own fandom, that I wouldn't be too mad if some of those people got involved with the project. So I mean,
yeah, and it's hard to know how much filming chops she really has, because she was deeply involved in Harry Potter, but she's also deeply involved in Fantastic Beasts, and they're on polar opposites.
Yes, agreed.
Of quality. So it's hard to really know how much input she has on the filmmaking side of things. That's good news. I'd be very curious to see what that comes out to be, because it runs the potential of having some of the best CG out there.
Yeah, and I mean, the Eragon, out of the 4 books, Eragon is the worst. It's called the Inheritance Cycle, the 4 books. So out of the Inheritance Cycle, Eragon's the worst book. It's also the smallest book. It's got the least amount of detail. So if they're going to take it as far as Inheritance, which is the last book, that'd be awesome. That'd be so awesome. So I hope I hope they do well. I hope they have the capabilities to make some of that stuff look real cool, So,
yeah, they definitely do.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully it'll be at the start of something kind of serious with Disney, and taking what I mean is taking its products a little more serious and giving them a little more TLC, and not shoving them out the door.
Yeah.
Like with Marvel and the Star Wars.
Yeah.
And a lot of pretty much everything that's coming to Disney Plus right now. So I know there have been some hits. I think Mandalorian is a hit. I think
I didn't watch it.
I think some of the other Star Wars What Ifs or whatever, or Star Wars Visions or whatever they call, where different directors and crews come together to produce episodes in their own style, kind of like Love, Death, and Robots on Netflix, but for Star Wars, which is very cool. I wish, that's how we hope. I guess we hope that they treat it a little more like Star Wars, I guess, if they're going to treat it away, and then Marvel.
Yep. Yeah.
That's great news, though. I'm excited about to watch that.
Yep. I'll definitely watch it. And then I'll tell you about it.
Okay.
If it sucks or not. And there's a new book coming out. I think I told you that. They're doing a Murtugh book. And it's coming out this year, November 7th, I think.
Is it like what, Lion King 1.5?
I'm not sure. Not sure, because Eldest has a lot of Murtugh in it. And a little bit more of his backstory and where he comes from and how he got his scar and his dad Morzan. So I don't know what they're doing with that.
Okay.
And honestly, I don't remember where Murtugh ends in the series. So I'm excited. I might pre-order it.
That's crazy. You're the only person I've ever met who has pre-ordered a book. That's true.
That's crazy.
Yeah, well, most of the books I've read, all the authors are dead anyways, so there's no hope.
Okay. There's no hope
for any new things that come out of them.
One of my biggest problems with the movie is the world itself. They live in Allegasia. Did you even know that? Did they even mention Allegasia? I feel like they did, and maybe in the beginning.
Like the country of Allegasia?
Yeah.
Or, maybe in that intro crawl type thing.
Yeah,
they
maybe.
mention Allegasia.
And then Galbatorix, the king, has a giant map of Allegasia.
Yeah, we don't.
For some reason.
That's, I think, completely lost.
And then, okay, in this world, we have a lot of, a lot of trees, a lot of plains, I guess. And then we have a desert, which is a big part of the book because they have to cross the desert to reach the Varden, which I don't remember seeing a desert anywhere. But, I mean, that's okay. You know, you can't make them travel through the desert. That's not... that'd be hard to make it pleasing and not as not time consuming, I guess.
Yeah, what happens in the desert? What is the point of the desert walk?
So Arya is basically poisoned, which we do see that in the film.
Mm-hmm.
But when Eragon rescues her, she's already poisoned. She's not awake. There's no interaction whatsoever. Eragon has just been seeing her in his dreams, and during some other circumstances, he lands in the jail where Arya is being kept at, and Eragon, Saphira, and Murtagh help rescue her. Not Brom. Brom's not involved in that. I think he had already died. So they're traveling to go to the Varden to help Arya get that poison out of her. So that whole desert is just them traveling and being scared. Is she gonna live? Is she not gonna live? You know, what's gonna happen to her? You know, they have no food, they have no water.
Yeah.
So
it's like the Oregon Trail.
Yeah. Basically. Eragon learns some cool spells on how to dig water from the ground.
That's cool.
Bring it up so they can drink. Okay, I can see why you wouldn't put that in. You know, it's kind of boring. Besides him pulling up water with magic, everything else is kind of boring. Him and Murtagh, you know, they're exhausted. There's so much heat, so they're kind of snippy and fighting.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay.
Yeah, that reminds me of in The Last of Us, where we really didn't see any of the alone time between Joel and Ellie in the show, and you know, the game is 75% of that.
Yeah.
And so we missed a lot of the texture that happens in between them, those are also the gameplay elements. So there's, you know, it's hard to adapt that into a cinematic experience.
Right.
And I can kind of have a similar thing happening here.
Yeah. So
but in a show, I feel like, I mean, that's just ripe for it, because a whole episode of the desert could be cool.
Exactly. A show is the best thing for this book. Yeah. I agree.
I'm glad these studios and production houses
are seeing this.
Are starting to realize that that's the right way to handle the source material, and on one level they have to understand that it's the respectful thing to do, and like to bring justice, if they actually want to bring justice and goodwill to, you know, build an audience, right? They have to approach it the right way.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
The right way seems to be the show route, which makes sense through the storytelling length, because these things require time to breathe.
Right.
Cinema's not for epics.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of towns that they go through. I mean, I couldn't even name them all.
We went through 2 towns, I think, here.
Yeah. The one where they lived.
The initial town and Varden.
Yeah, and then...
and that little sea town.
Yeah, that little sea town. But no, here they travel through various towns.
Yeah.
Some towns, you know, people were murdered. Kids were dead on the street. I mean, come on, where is this? Where's that child that died next to its mom? Like, and Eragon's crying. Where is that in this film? And the town where they met Angela, the witch, they don't even keep the same town name. Which, come on, that's just keep it. That doesn't matter. Like, just give us. Maybe that 1.7 would have been a 1.8 if you just would have kept the naming right.
Yeah, I get that on one level, because this is why the show is kind of needed. When you introduce all these weird names, things just get crazy confusing crazy fast, and that's when, you know, that doesn't happen in a book, because, you know, books are many pages long, and you're seeing the names over. You're literally seeing the names over and over again, you know, for the towns and the people and stuff, and then it gets. I can see studios and Paramounts and your Disneys wanting to navigate around that to not turn people off, or so they thought. I think Game of Thrones has really knocked that down for a lot of people.
Yeah,
and so we'll.
And come on, we have subtitles now.
Yeah, and subtitles subtitles are like crazy popular now.
Yes.
I feel like I don't know.
Yes.
Of the millennials, or starting with the millennials, I feel like just onward, people are just totally all about the subtitles now. And I know some people are anti-subtitles, like David Lynch. He's like, you don't need subtitles. And then Christopher Nolan is like, I want you to hear what I want you to hear. I want shit to be muffled. I don't want you to hear everything.
I want you to hear my mumble.
I want you to watch the movie over and over again so you can understand what's going on. It's like, okay, I don't know.
I don't have time for that.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that's like a pretentious justification for you recording your audio.
Oh, that's funny.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a better... You've done it already. I mean, I haven't watched all of Christopher Nolan's movies, but he's done it better already to try to, entice you to watch a movie more than once to try to navigate what the bigger meaning is to it all. But
yeah, so the world where they meet Angela, and even there's a whole side quest on why they go there. But I'll get there in a second. But, there's more towns, there's more cities. Also, one of the biggest misses of this world is the variety in characters, like the variety in creatures.
Yeah.
You have Urgles, you have Razak, you have elves, you have dwarves. Did you even see a dwarf?
I don't think so.
Did you even see anyone short that wasn't a kid?
I don't think so.
And the Varden live with the dwarves. They are invading the dwarves right now. So, where's all the dwarves there?
Yeah, I don't know. There must be some D&D origins within Eragon, right? Do you know about how Eragon came to be?
No.
Through Christopher?
No, I know he did a lot of he tried to study a lot of like ancient language stuff and tried to apply that into Eragon, but I did just read about him being inspired by Lord of the Rings, but I'm sure some D&D inspiration was there.
Yeah, because I just feel like when you make a world like this with the languages and the lore and the history and the characters and the variety of enemies and the politics, it screams, I'm a dungeon master. He must have, if he wasn't, he probably wanted to be. He must have not had the right crew of people.
Maybe. He was probably busy writing a book, but there's no variety in that. And the Urgles themselves were described as bow-legged men with horns on their head, and they were like bulky or something. And these Urgles, although I quite like them, they're kind of stupid, so I kind of like that.
Yeah.
But where are the horns? You can give them horns. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, that would have been fine. Yeah, that would have fit. They were real dark and dirty looking and a little non-human, but they were basically just a bunch of bald guys, dirtied up. The horn would have helped.
And they're mean. They're really fierce and mean and evil, and all we got were stupid Urgles.
Yeah, that's it.
They were done dirty.
They were done dirty.
And then you have a specific race of Urgles called Kulls, Kull. And these Kulls are larger Urgles and scarier Urgles, and we didn't get any of that. It's missing a lot of that, which maybe is why people are mad at the movie, because there was no variety. And we were talking about Arya. She's an elf. Didn't even have elf ears. You couldn't even give her fucking pointing ears?
Yeah, if you're not going to say it, you got to just let the audience in on that.
Yeah.
Because, Tolkien already defined that elves have pointy ears. So you don't got to say it. You can just give her pointy ears and everybody will already know. Like, oh shit, she's an elf. She's different. And she's special.
And she's supposed to be...
She's fragile.
16, I think. Well, she's an elf, so she's old as fuck. But she's supposed to resemble a 16-year-old.
She looked like she was 30-something.
I know.
Poor girl.
And I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing to her? And I think Eragon's supposed to be 15 in the book. Yeah. And they made him 17 in the movie, so that's not too big of a deal, I guess. Just small things that don't matter. Just give it to us. So besides the world, another big misadaptation, I don't know what you want to call it, but the reason why Eragon leaves Carvajal after his uncle dies is to avenge him. He wants to go find the Razak. So that's why they travel from town to town looking for them. And they come across some like oil, only very specific oil that the Razak carry. And they're like, okay, great, this is a clue. So they go to the town where that oil is sold, or where they have the records where that oil is sold. They meet up with some of Brahm's friends there that are ex-Varden people. And the whole time, Eragon doesn't know Brahm is a dragon rider until after he died. And Brahm's like super discreet about his past, but you know, he knows a lot about dragons and ancient magic and the ancient language and the Varden and all these things. But Eragon he's clueless in the book, which in the movie he's like, oh, I know, you know, I thought we agreed not to lie to each other, and finds him out. So I thought that was, I don't know.
It's a little vanilla.
But I mean, yeah, they go find the oil, find the Razak. They found the Razak. They're trying to like fight them. They get, you know, kind of discovered, I guess. They're not winning this fight. They leave, but the Razak are still chasing them. And then somehow Brahm dies somewhere in there. And then Eragon gets captured. He gets thrown to that jail where he meets Arya in there, that she's also trapped in there. Gets rescued by Murtagh and Saphira. And then that's when they decide we need to go to the Varden to go get her fixed. But in the movie, they're like, first of all, I don't even think when they flee, they're just like, let's go. And it's like, where are you going? Okay, I get you're running away from the immediate danger because, you know,
He wants to go to the king or whatever, of Varden.
Yeah, but after we see them ride for miles and miles, and then they're like, okay, let's go to the Varden.
Oh,
it's like,
yeah.
What? No, okay, ride a little bit, get out of the immediate danger, stop, and then let us know where you're going. But they're just riding, and I mean, they don't tell you where they're going. And then, okay, then they tell you they're going to the Varden, which it doesn't give Eragon it doesn't give him a motivation to go to the Varden. You know, in the book, he sees all these people dying. Brahm. He sees slaves being sold. He sees Arya being locked up. He sees all these things that make him want to go to the Varden. And even when he's at the Varden, which that's a lot right there too. Because when, you know, in the movie, he gets to the Varden and they're like, oh, Orgles are coming. You brought them to us. Let us fight. Not in the book. In the book, he's got time to settle there and time to breathe and eat, and then gets to meet people, and everyone loves him because he's a dragon rider, you know, not under the king's control. And he's got time to develop these relationships with the common people. And now he's like, okay, you know what? I do think I want to stay with the Varden and help defeat Galbatorix. And a lot of that is missed.
I mean, all of that is missed.
Yeah, all of that is missed.
Because it's totally up to Brahm in the beginning. Brahm's like, we need to get out of here. You need to get out of here. And he comes with him.
Yeah.
That's basically it. And then until he starts seeing, I guess, Arya in his visions.
Yeah.
But until then, they're headed towards the Varden. And he's like, the Varden's the other way. And then they go. The next scene is that's probably one of the worst parts of just the coherence of the movie is that's like in the opposite direction. And then the next scene they're at where where Arya's at.
That's in the opposite direction. Turn your neck. It's that way.
Yeah, like,
oh, okay. Yeah, and I mean, in the book, he's not looking for Arya. He just happens to be there where she's at. Although he is seeing her in his dreams, and he's like, who is this girl? Why is she in my dreams? Why am I seeing her? And then sees her there. He's like, oh, okay, I'm going to rescue you. So, I don't know. I think that's kind of the plot. That's kind of what moves Eragon from place to place. Where is he going? You know, his plot's not to go to the Varden. That's not his goal. That's not his mission, to go to the Varden. His mission is to avenge. Yeah, no motivation, exactly. His reason for doing all of this was to avenge his uncle's death, which we get none of that.
We don't even get their relationship. His uncle and Eragon.
Yeah, we get a little bit of their relationship in the book in the beginning. His uncle and Roran, his cousin. But I mean, almost immediately, Saphira hatches and he's got to deal with that. Which that's another thing that I think they did it okay. You know, Saphira's transition from a baby dragon into a full-grown dragon, and Eragon's, her and Eragon's connection. I think they did it okay, but of course, nothing like the book. In the book, they have to mentally. It's kind of a mental challenge because that's how they communicate, through each other's minds. So Eragon has to learn to have someone present in his mind at all times, which is weird for him. And then on top of that, Saphira's a dragon. She doesn't grow up learning English. So now Eragon has this child dragon that he's got to teach to read, or not to read. He's got to teach to communicate. He's got to teach the dragon words in English and the feelings and what they mean. So that whole development, just it takes time, which I understand. You don't have that time in a movie to develop it. Instead, you just throw Saphira in the sky, give it a few thunderbolts, and boom, she's a full mature dragon. Which, it's like, okay, all right. I guess you can do Saphira like that.
She evolved.
She did. She
went from a Charmeleon to a Charizard. Yeah, I could see that being introducing the town, him and his relationship to his cousin and his uncle, and finding the egg, and it may be hatching, and that's just kind of weird in all of the first episode. And the second episode is about him connecting with Saphira and maybe finding Braum, and then things start to go awry, and then they leave at the end of that episode. And then the third episode is the first bits of travel. Probably the next few episodes are bits of travel.
Yeah. And I mean, there's his cousin. He's in love with this girl named Katrina, and she is the butcher. You remember the butcher, Sloane? The one that wouldn't give him meat for the egg?
Yeah.
For the stone?
That's funny.
Katrina. That's Sloane's daughter. Katrina is Sloane's daughter. And, her and Roran are hooking up. And that's why he leaves in the book. Not because he won't be...
He's gonna get drafted, basically.
Yeah, no. He leaves because he needs money so he can marry her. And Roran and Katrina are a huge part in Eldest, the next book. So, I don't know. If they wanted a sequel of this movie, I don't know why they didn't make Roran at least have that goal. You're not gonna keep him long in the film. Okay, that's fine. At least give him a reason to be who he is in the next book, because in the next book it's a perspective switch between Eragon and Roran. We get both worlds, pretty much. So I mean, I don't know. You could have developed Roran a little bit more, especially if you were thinking long thoughts here. Another thing I had an issue with was these they're not flashbacks, just these scenes with Galbatorix, which we get nothing of Galbatorix in the books. All you know is he's a king. That's all you know. And he's an ex dragon rider, or he's a dragon rider who killed all the other dragon riders so he could be the sole dragon rider. And that's pretty much it. So it was a bit silly seeing him in the film. You're like, who's that? Oh, Galbatorix. Okay, why is he here? This is just Eragon's story. This is just Eragon and Braum, and then Eragon and Martug, and then Eragon and the Varden. You don't see anybody. You see the Shade. Yeah, you do read about the Shade and how Eragon kills the Shade.
Do you know that the Shade are sent by that guy? That long-haired guy, Darius.
What long-haired guy?
The long-haired guy, the wizard.
The redhead?
Yeah.
That's the Shade.
But he's like the leader of the Shades.
No, the other dudes are the Razak and the Urgles.
Oh, he's just a Shade.
He is a Shade.
Oh, okay.
What's his name? Durza.
Yeah, well, he sends the Razak out.
Yeah, which I don't know if that's... Yeah, I think everyone's just under Galbatorix's control. Durza's just there to torture Arya and to fight with Eragon in a lot of scenes. In a lot of...
So he's not after Eragon?
He's after the Varden. But they do want to kill Eragon. They don't... Okay. They don't want to kill Eragon because there's the potential that Eragon might not want to be with the Varden, and then they can convince him to go to Galbatorix's side. So they don't want to kill Eragon. That's not the goal here. We want him to have a choice. When he refuses us, then we'll kill him. But right now, Eragon's safe. So he's not really after Eragon, but he's after Arya. He's after everyone else around Eragon.
And Brom?
Yeah.
He's after Brom, too?
He's after Brom. Brom's actually a fucking legend. And you don't find that out until pretty much the last book. And you find out all these secrets about Brom and who he was and what he did and all this crazy stuff. I remember reading that book and just being like jaw dropped to the floor. So, yeah, Brom's got a big history, which hopefully, this Disney Plus series.
Yeah, hopefully. I wonder if this is gonna be Disney's like champion to take on the HBO Harry Potter show. That'd be cool as shit, wouldn't it?
That'd be
if they
awesome.
have like these two super high quality, fantasy shows from different eras and of course in different universes, but that'd be sick. I have high hopes for it.
There's characters that are missing from the film that should have been in there. There's these evil twins, which we don't find out they're evil until later on. But there's these twins who try to torture Eragon and invade his mind. And they try to get Murtagh too. But, he was like, no, I'm not letting you in my mind. I'm not letting you in to get to know me. And they lock him up. Although Eragon did know he was Morzan's son, like way before. Murtagh didn't do him dirty like that. He told him way before. He was like, hey, this is why I don't want to go to the Varden. I will help you get there, but then once we get there, I'm done. But they didn't have the chance to do that because the Urkels were there. So, Murtagh came. And then when the battle came, they actually let Murtagh free. And they were like, hey, we're going to give you a chance to prove yourself that you're on our side. So he's like, cool. And then he killed a bunch of Urkels. And they're like, all right, this guy's cool. So,
They didn't like him for the same reason? Because of his father?
Yeah. For the same reason. They didn't trust him. I don't know if that's the same thing as like, but they didn't trust him because of his father. And then when they ask, we're going to read your mind to build that trust, because apparently that's how you build trust here. You have to let them into your mind. He's like, no, my mind is like the most precious thing I have. I'm not letting you in there. It's the most valuable thing that is only mine and mine only. So of course I'm not letting you in my mind. And Eragon's like, here are my thoughts. Read them. I don't care. Just let me in here. Please save Arya. So that's pretty much why they locked him up. And I guess the last thing we can cover is the end. How just dirty they did the end. You would think that they set it up for a sequel, but I don't know what sequel they set it up to. Definitely not Eldest. Definitely not Brazinger or Inheritance. Maybe Eragon 2.
Part 2, yeah.
Yeah.
They definitely set it up like John Malkovich was going to come.
Yes.
Come get Eragon or whatever.
Which, no. So Eragon ends with they win. They defeat the Urgles. And it's 3 days after the battle. And they're still because the battle took place in the tunnels. So it was underground. It was an underground battle, which I don't think we got that in the film. But it was an underground battle in the tunnels, and the Ahijad, I think that I'm pronouncing his name right. He's the leader of the Varden, the black dude. And then Murtagh, the twins, and then a couple of other miscellaneous characters are going through all the tunnels, making sure there's no Urgles left, while Eragon and Saphira are recovering. And during one of their tunnel search, I don't know.
Expedition.
Yeah, one of their expedition in the tunnels, they found some rogue, quote unquote, rogue Urgles. And they kill Ahijad. And they take the twins and they take Murtagh. And they kill everyone else. And Ahijad managed to kill some of the Urgles, but the others got taken. And now there's no leader of the Varden. So the book ends with, who's going to be our next leader? Is it the next in line? Is it Eragon? Is it Arya? Which she can't be because she's an elf. But, who is? Also, when Eragon beat up that shade when he killed him. When he killed the shade, he hurt his back like pretty bad. So he's kind of crippled, and he's, he can't bend down without having like a sharp stab of pain in his back. So he's crippled. Like, how is he gonna be a dragon rider? And how is he gonna fight? How are there 3 more books when this dude's a fucking cripple? And then he has this dream of this like wise dude. I don't know. He's got the ancient name that I can't pronounce. And that guy basically tells him, go to the elves, go to Elismera, learn from them, go over there. So that's what he's gonna set out to do. Which in the film, it's like, hey Arya, hey Eragon, what are you doing? How are you? Oh, I'm good. Where are you going? I'm going to Elismera. Where are you going? I don't know. Wherever me and Severa decide to go. All right, cool. See ya. Good thing you're walking straight. Like, what? What were you gonna do with Eragon? We didn't. What is this thing with Galbatorix and his dragon? What are you doing? Did you read the sequel? Because the sequel was out by the time this movie was made. I don't know what they were thinking. But definitely the ending was the worst as far as, the book. I think that's why people are so mad that it really did the book dirty like that. Which is fine. You're just going to have to label it as an adaptation. Or...
yeah, loose
adaptation. Very loose adaptation. It's just not what we wanted. It is not what Eragon fans wanted at all.
Yeah, I wonder what Christopher would say about it. Do you know anything he said about the movie?
No. Besides his little comment saying...
yeah, he's probably just grateful that he got that $10 million check or whatever. Maybe not that much, but...
shit, less than 20-year-old getting that much money? I wouldn't be mad. I'd be hyping that movie.
They probably gave him $100,000.
Dang, that's nothing.
That's nothing, yeah, for writing the movie, relative to the movie and like how it comes together and stuff. I know the writing is sort of, I don't know, top 3 most important parts of a movie.
Yeah.
So next to acting, next to directing, writing, directing. Some people might try to defend cinematography, but
not up there with the
That's
screenplay.
Not yeah. Those 3 kind of require them to be, to have crazy synergy.
Yeah.
It's just without those 3, you really don't have anything else. I don't care how beautifully shot the movie is and how interestingly it made. When you have shit actors, shit directing, shit writing, it's...
yeah.
So,
I mean, I did from the movie. I liked Eragon and Brahm's relationship.
Yeah.
I think the actors had.
Yeah, I thought they
were
good
chemistry.
I thought they were decent.
Yeah.
I was totally fine with them. Yeah, I mean, Arya was kind of weak.
Yeah.
John Malkovich was weird. I mean, I think one of the stars of the movie too was the Shade. He was fun. Yeah. He's a fun character. Brahms is a star though. He really is. He had fun with that role.
Yeah.
And Eragon, I feel about child actors. They just are what they are.
Yeah, that was his first film.
It's probably his only film.
Well, I told you. Remember where I told you that he's the bad guy in You season 4? That's Spillers.
That's him?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yep, that's him.
Wait, which one? The British one or the American?
I mean, the bad guy.
Who's the bad guy?
The blonde dude.
The one
that's gonna run as mayor or whatever.
Not the one that Joe is seeing in his head?
Yes, him. He kills him, and then he starts seeing him in his head.
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, he's there all season,
So he's real at one point?
Yes.
Oh, okay, I missed the killing. Because where I picked it back up.
Shit, now I don't know.
Because what I saw, I didn't see every episode. I saw the first few episodes and the last few episodes. So what I saw was he was a figment of Joe's imagination.
Yes.
So I thought the whole time he was a figment of Joe's imagination.
Now that you say that, I don't know. Now you've got me back.
That's him though?
Here. That's him. Yeah, that's him.
That was a fun character.
And I think he's also in an episode of Downton Abbey. Or not one, but a couple of episodes.
Okay, cool. He's probably in Grey's Anatomy, too.
I wouldn't be surprised if all these characters were in
I know. Grey's Anatomy is that stepping stone. You just gotta, everybody's gotta hit at some point. It's fun.
And then I told you, Murtagh Garrett, played by Garrett Hedlund, he's in Tron.
Yeah, I haven't seen Tron.
So which you haven't seen Tron, but he was like my childhood. He was my childhood crush, man.
I never even heard of that guy. That's fun.
I never either until this movie, and I was like, okay, all right. Gothy kind of dude.
You like Tron?
I like Tron, but I don't know if Tron is cool. Tron is cool.
Yeah, I do know that's an important film to VFX, to the history of VFX.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I really know about it. Was that last foray into Disney flexing their VFX skills?
Yeah.
You know, and that really climaxed with, of course, Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah. Okay.
That's when, you know, Disney was like,
hold my beer.
Nah, man, they were like, this is it. Like we own the combination of practical and CGI.
Oh.
Now this is it. And then they drop the ball. Now they do it. They do some of the worst. It's kind of crazy how, you know, things can change after different management, I guess.
What'd you think of Saphira and Eragon's relationship?
It's fine. It's weird. It was quick. You know, it didn't.
Mm-hmm. Kind of bland.
It's bland. I was confused by whether or not he could see what she was seeing. 'Cause that's what they made it seem like when he first got that ability, or he would just get dragon vision when he said the words. I was like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on here. Whatever fits the movie, I guess.
Yeah,
at the time.
In the book, it was more along the lines of Saphira. He could see through Saphira's eyes
right?
when she let him, or when they used the.
It's not what happened here. It is and it isn't. I guess it was like you said. They were trying to kind of display the level of connection, which is cool, but it doesn't. But that it's a movie. You know, we had less than 2 hours probably with them, and it just doesn't work on that level. Not a fan of fantasy being in the movie format. And after Game of Thrones, I just don't want to see it ever again.
Yep.
I really don't.
I agree.
Eragon, I mean, it seems like it runs a really good possibility of being pretty good as a show.
Oh, I've always thought it. I've always thought this would be a great show.
It sounds like, you know, with the dead kids or whatever, and like just the nature of fantasy, it does seem to be. It requires, for it to be really good, it requires it to be a little mature. And I'm not sure if Disney's going to be down for making children die or, you know, questionable ethical things happen on screen, because they've just really not. It didn't seem like they're really into that right now.
Yeah.
But Eragon might be the first into that. That'd be, if they want to compete with the HBO Harry Potter show, which I guarantee you is going to be awesome. I guarantee it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
It's going to replace, you know, Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson, and
I'm not
Rupert
ready
Grint.
For that.
It's going to replace them in all of our minds' eyes of who the best Harry Potters are.
No.
Characters are. Which is going to be tough, you know, because 3, Hagrid, the Dumbledores, they got super lucky with 2 great Dumbledores, but they also at the same time prove to us that it can be more than one, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So the Hagrid one's going to be probably the hardest replacement.
Yes, for sure.
So that's going to be tough, but yeah, the show, along with, you know, some of these other HBO shows, they're going to start to give Disney a run for its money, and Eragon might be an answer to that.
God, cool. I hope so. That'd be cool. Awesome.
That'd be cool.
Another thing about, you know, seeing movies come to life or books come to life is the descriptions of these characters, and then seeing them on screen, and, you know, you're completely wrong or you're kind of right, but most of the time, you know, I was completely wrong. Like Brom, definitely visualized him a lot older, because he's an old guy. He's really old. And I mean, even Eragon's surprised that he can do the things he does. But then again, this is back then, so we didn't live as long, so maybe it makes sense that he looks like that, and he is old. So okay.
Yeah, that's fair.
Arya is black-haired, really long black hair, very elvish features, very dainty. So I imagine her on the smaller side with long black hair. And I mean, Roran and Eragon basically look like twins, which I don't know what that was about.
Yeah, they definitely do look like twins.
Okay. And I mean, the witch, Angela, completely different characteristics. There's this, Angela has this, I think they call them werecats, like werewolf, but it's a werecat. And his name is Solomon. And he's not a big part of Eragon, but that's like Saphira's friend. She befriends a werecat, which, why didn't you put him in here? I don't know. I guess he's only in like 3 parts of the book, so okay. But I think he's a little bit more involved in the series, though. But, in picturing him, and he can transform into a boy. So he delivers messages to Eragon as a boy, and then he like chills out with Saphira. I mean, I don't know what I was trying to say. I hope the series does a little bit of that, keeps some of my like how I imagine these characters based off the author's words.
Yeah.
I hope they keep a lot of those features, because even in Harry Potter, some were hits, some were misses. I don't know. I've always thought that was interesting, that what I picture when I read is not what pops up on the screen.
Yeah, it's a big challenge for these studios, casting agents and stuff. And it's Harry Potter is kind of Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings, and I guess Game of Thrones at this point are those benchmarks of what that right character can do to the book character. What the right movie character can do that book character. Because now, I mean, when you read Game of Thrones and you read about Jon Snow, you're only going to see Kit Harington.
Yeah.
That's such a win. That's such a deep, deep win. You can go on and on about how, all these things suck. I don't know about Lord of the Rings, but Harry Potter starts to suck at the end. It starts to just become gray. Thank you, whatever, John Gates, whatever your name is, for ruining the end of Harry Potter. Although it's still pretty good, but he definitely starts to take it in their bad direction. The last 4, I think, movies are, they're kind of indistinguishable from one another. I wonder why.
Yep. And
same thing with, Lord of the Rings. We, for different reasons, we lose, that momentum of that early stuff. But those characters, they just nailing that is super important. But we also need that direction to kind of keep up with the writing and the actors, and they can do it. Disney can do it. They got the money. They can do it.
I don't know. I mean, it's hopeful that the author is going to be working with them. That's very
the timeline
hopeful.
Seems hopeful too. I think if they're aiming for late 2024, early 2025, I think we're about to see the lowest point of Disney here in the last 10 years. I think we're about to hit that. So I think that pendulum swing back is going to be really interesting. And I think we're going to see out of Disney, I think in the next, after these next 2 years. So hopefully Eragon is the first of that and not the last of the shit. You know what I'm saying? I think after these next 2 or so years, we are going to see major, major hits come out of Disney because of The Last of Us, because of, HBO's moves into Harry Potter and the new
they have show,
and then Sony's moves into working with Netflix and working with Peacock, making their shows come to life and actually making good shows. Like, we're just not getting a lot of, kind of fantastical shows. A lot of the great shows are just these hyper dramatic shows and are not these shows that make you wonder, like Game of Thrones. We want to, these studios want to capture that Game of Thrones magic again. There's a lot of drama and politics in Game of Thrones, of course, but that magic is not anywhere to be found in shows like The Succession or Yellow Jackets, or what's another big show that's happening right now?
I don't know. I'm watching Bridgerton.
Yeah, that magic's not in Bridgerton. Bridgerton's great. One of the best Netflix shows out there for sure. But it doesn't have that magic that, Game of Thrones had, and maybe The Last of Us has on some level. This kind of like, you know what I mean? Like this, like Harry Potter, like I'm sure the same way you feel about when you read it and stuff, it's just, the breathing world of it all.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I don't think we have a show like that's on right now. The Last of Us, I think, is probably the closest we got, but it's still not on
even
that level.
then. Yeah, even then, it's
And
not
it's
on
not.
that
I
same
don't think
level.
it's supposed to be. I don't think you can make it quite on that level because it's just not nearly as ambitious like Harry Potter is. Like Eragon seems like it can be. So I have hopes for Eragon. I do.
I do too.
It's good.
I'm not exactly sure how I feel that it's gonna be Disney Plus,
Yeah, I wonder how they
especially
got those
after
rights. Especially after what?
especially after that comment you just made about Disney, you know, kind of keeping it more PG than mature. So now, although Eragon doesn't have a lot of violence besides the killing of the people by the Urgles, no, not a big romance. It's not aiming for romance. It's not aiming for sex stuff. It's not aiming for vulgarity. Which that's a big thing in Game of Thrones, the nudity and the
Is there an element
vulgar.
of urgency and lethalness, in not literally killing on screen or in the book, but is there an element of, their lives are on the line?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially him wanting to avenge his uncle
Yeah.
with the Razak, and then they're following the Razak are following them. So
Yeah, that's
Aragon's at a point of dying every time.
Yeah, see, yeah, and that's one of the things I think Disney struggles with the most
Mhm.
is how nothing's urgent, nothing's risky. Your lives are not on the line. Everything works out at the end.
Oh my gosh, everything is on the line.
Yeah, so like
he is the only dragon rider
yeah,
besides Galbatorix. On top of that, he's the only dragon rider outside of the king's control.
yeah, and they need to make
Everyone
a big deal about that.
wants him, whether for good or bad. They want him.
Yeah,
To kill him, to love him, to bless your baby. Everyone wants Eragon.
yeah, they need to make a big deal about that.
Yeah.
And I'm not. Yeah, that's.
So I'm not sure how I feel about Disney Plus,
Yeah.
but like you said, could be the start.
We'll see. Yeah, I think Disney Plus will have that start at some point. I think it's just the nature of doing business is they're gonna have to react, and they're in reaction mode. I think now.
Yeah.
Especially with these last 2 years of this terrible Marvel releases, and the new Guardians is probably gonna help spark a little bit of that's we need to go back to that on some level.
Yeah.
We need some stylization. We need bring in some creative people, not all these interns.
Because even the live actions aren't hitting it anymore.
No, Pinocchio was arguably the lowest that there is.
Peter Pan.
And we will see about the Little Mermaid. Did you hear about what the lead from Aladdin said about the Little Mermaid?
No.
He's just giving his 2 cents, saying that. I didn't know Aladdin was such a big hit. It made $1 billion. So it's, I think, the biggest. That and Lion King, I would assume, are the biggest live action releases.
Which are my favorite.
And I think easily 2 of the few better ones. There's a few better ones. There's definitely a line, Beauty and the Beast.
Right.
The other one, I can't remember. But the Aladdin guy said something along the lines of he doesn't. He was saying something about the projected numbers. Comparing them to what Aladdin was. Aladdin was like 1.22 million opening weekend, and they're expecting Little Mermaid to hit like 125 million opening weekend, and he says he doesn't think that's going to happen. That's all he said. And then people were just losing their mind over it, apparently. I don't know exactly what was being said, but he wasn't ready for the
backlash.
The crazy amount of backlash, apparently, and he disabled his Twitter because he got all this hate. And I saw the tweet, and it's completely inoffensive. There's nothing wrong with it. He's actually saying something maybe insightful. I don't hear actors very often say something that's analytical, right?
That's probably why, right there.
And so,
but he's never saying anything like that ever again in his life.
Not the fucking mouse is coming to his house.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those funny things, because Aladdin is in that wheelhouse with Little Mermaid, The Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, Hercules. These are all like right next to each other. These are the big ones, So it's gonna be compared to that, I would imagine. And it's just kind of, I wonder why. I don't care enough to go look, but I'm somewhat curious if you find it, and you definitely feel free to tell me what that was about. Yeah. I mean, I assume it has everything to do with that the original the remake of Aladdin is a little more true to the Aladdin, the original, and then this one is taking, its liberties with whatever. I don't know. He probably knows a little bit more than the regular person, right? Maybe. I don't know. He's involved in Disney, so maybe he's got some ins. But,
I mean, I'll tell you just from a personal experience that I was excited to see the new Aladdin movie. I went to go see it on, at the movie theater. I anticipated it. I was excited. Little Mermaid, I'm not that excited. I'm not looking forward to it. I'm sure we will cover it because, that's what we do. But if we don't cover it, if we don't go to the movies to see it, I won't be mad. If we're going to wait for it to pop up, where I'm talking about, I won't be mad either. I mean, I'm not anticipating it. I'm not waiting for it.
Is it coming to Disney Plus like Peter Pan did?
I'm not sure.
Because that would be pretty fucking hilarious if Little Mermaid does not go to Disney Plus and Peter Pan did. It just tells you the priorities here, that there is inequality amongst the House of Mouse.
Yeah, and then maybe if something of that sort happens, people won't be so mad at Aladdin dude.
Oh, they're gonna be all for the Little Mermaid side because
gosh,
she's I guess just a black woman.
Okay, yeah. She's a person of color. And a woman, yeah.
Yeah.
You're right.
So,
I mean, honestly, the fish, what's his name? Sebastian?
I saw Sebastian and the fish. They look terrible. I didn't realize Sebastian was a crab. I thought he was
Flounder.
a lobster.
Flounder's the fish. Sebastian is the crab. They look scary. They look creepy.
They do look scary.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know what the problem with stylizing these remakes is. Like, that they're not. I don't know why they're trying to go down that hyper-realistic route. Because I got news for you. That's not what crabs look like either. Like, you're making... It's like, how when you look up these Pokemon, these hyper-realistic Pokemon, and they're fucking terrifying? That's just not... That's obviously not how they would look, right? It's called hyper-realism for a reason. It's these exaggerated... It's a complete mess.
I'm showing you Abu from Aladdin.
Abu looks pretty good.
Yeah.
He's got a kind of a creepy face.
He does have a creepy face.
But Abu looks pretty good.
So now let me pull up Bastion. Oh, I scared myself. Like, where's Abu's cuteness? Where is that? Can you see him?
Yeah, I can see him. That's a mess.
Yeah. Go compare Abu from the Aladdin live action remake versus Sebastian and Flounder. We should do a warning disclaimer kind of deal here.
You might have nightmares.
Goddamn. Oh man, isn't he supposed to be blue? He's like yellow and blue, right?
Yeah, he's mostly yellow.
So why are they making him white?
I guess the flounders are more. It's maybe a little more of what a flounder looks like. I'm not sure.
You can give him some yellow,
Yeah, no, they should stylize
he's
it.
Like he's an iconic sidekick.
Yeah, Little Mermaid's got a fucking tail. All right, you don't need to go down the what they look like in real life route too much. Little Mermaid. I don't know if Disney knows this or not, but mermaids aren't real.
What?
And also Ursula, that half octopus human thing, that also isn't real. So like, you don't need to go. You can, you gotta kind of embrace the style. That's why 2D animation works so well, because it by default, by drawing it embraces a sense of style, right?
Yeah.
It's just the nature of 2D animation, 2D stuff in general, and animation especially. Yeah, I see it. That's a mess.
Yeah.
It's too late. They're not gonna be able to remake Aladdin. They're not gonna be able to remake Beauty and the Beast for another 50 years, 30 years maybe. This is it. This is what we got. this is what the next 2 or 3 generations is gonna have to live with. So it's I guess fortunately the originals will always be there, and if you prefer the remakes, more power to you. That's fine, but maybe you should come on to this podcast because obviously you're a Philistine, so you can come join us.
That's why I'm here.
That's why you're here, because you like movies like the Garfield movie and
That's a cute movie.
Cats and
Also a cute movie.
What's another one?
King Kong.
King Kong's fine. That's a fine movie.
Big Hero 6.
No, Big Hero 6 is fine. Give me another shitty movie.
My shitty movies that I like. I don't know. I'm not thinking what shitty movies do I like. I'm thinking what good movies do I like. What movies do I like?
You like shark movies?
Oh, I love
shark
movies.
I do too, of course. But see, this is you're in the right place.
Musicals?
There's some great musicals out there.
Love musicals. What do you say?
There's some great musicals out there.
There are some great musicals
La La
out there.
Land.
No, that one sucks, actually.
One of the greatest films ever made.
That's one of the only ones that sucks.
That's crazy. Crazy talk. All right. Thank you for watching this movie with me. I had a great time watching it.
Well, thank you for letting me teach you about the world of Eragon.
Yeah, I had my suspicions. It was more in the vein of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And watching this, you could see that just knowing there's source material behind all this. You could easily see that this was just nothing. It felt like the 80s romp, what you'd expect.
Yeah.
There would be a part over the weekend. It'd be part 1, part 2, happening on one of the 15 channels that was around in 1985, and probably not even that many. And like Willow, looks just like Willow. I don't know if you know what Willow is. It's also a Disney property now. They just had a new Willow show came out that was apparently really bad. Apparently that show was really bad. I don't know. I'm not gonna watch Disney shit unless
we're covering it on the podcast.
Yeah, I do want to watch the big releases that come out of Disney, minus Marvel stuff. It's too, until I know what the end of that tunnel might look like or the next tunnel might look like. It seems like it's just full of. It feels like it's a little too painful to get through. It's just too much. It's like watching Bunny Man 1, 2, and 3 over and over and over again.
Oh.
You watch it once, you get it, and then you're done. You shouldn't watch Bunny Man more than once unless you got your friends over. You're like, oh, you want to see this shitty movie?
Yep.
A lot of Disney fits, a lot of Marvel fits into that. I feel like, and like I've said before, Marvel especially feels like they don't feel like it feels like they don't respect their audience that much. They don't expect very much of them. They don't respect their intellect. They don't want them to work very hard. It's just, I guess it just is what it is. It's not for me, so I don't get into it.
Yeah.
So that's fine. More power to the people. Good on Guardians though, picking up some of that slack though, to prove a point that Marvel can still live. Marvel fatigue is not real. It's just the fatigue of bullshit. Bullshit fatigue and bullshit meters are off the fucking charts for people right now. And glad to see the Mario movie break $1 billion. That's cool. So I'm excited to watch more movies with you. Thank you.
Thank you guys for listening to our podcast. This is the Filmsteins, the Bobo Steins.
We're going to change our name to the Bobo Steins.
All right.
Do you have any final thoughts to tell me about Eragon today?
Nope, no final thoughts. Hopefully everybody joins us in watching in, 2 years from now, the Eragon series.
Yeah, I wonder what our first show is going to be that we cover.
Probably season 2 of Last of Us, unless you want to cover Bridgerton.
We can cover Bridgerton. We'll cover it all in one episode, or so maybe.
Okay.
I might want to cover the Twisted Metal show on Peacock.
Okay. And then the new Harry Potter show, whatever they're calling it.
It's going to be called Harry Potter.
Harry Potter?
I bet you it's just called Harry Potter. I wonder if they're going to go season to season is going to do what the movies did. That'd be kind of cool. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. And then the first season or 2 is the Chamber of Secrets.
That'd be cool if they stick by the chapter titles too.
Oh, that'd be sick.
The chapter titles are pretty clever.
That'd be sick.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Filmistines. Thanks for tuning in and joining us on our cinematic journey. We hope you enjoyed our discussion and gained some new insights and perspectives on the world of movies. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform, especially Patreon at patreon.com/Filmistines, and follow us on social media for more film-related content. We love hearing from our listeners, so if you have any feedback, suggestions, movie recommendations, or book recommendations, please feel free to reach out to us. Until next time, keep watching and keep loving the magic of movies. This is the Filmistines signing off.